Hey guys, Vazzy back here, and in today's video, we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be going over and looking at the first ever roster file that I published. So this came all the way back in NHL 22. If you, for whatever reason, do want to check this file out, it is on the Xbox One edition of the game. If you have Series X or whatever, you still can download it. You just have to be on the other file of the game or other copy of the game. And it should be under here, the Spins roster overhaul. So before I went under the Vazzy name and started a channel, everything like that, all my roster updates were put under the Spins name, and I think at one point I was number 2 for a good chunk of the year, something like that. Finished up with just over 11,000 downloads on the main file, the first one, and throughout the year finished up with Spins roster update 7. And this was really my first attempt and forte into really putting out decent rosters for the community. Again, if I don't know if I would still be doing this right now if I didn't get such a great reception on the first one, and then I just wanted to continue learning, continue getting better, and just making more detailed files from then. But yeah, today we'll just be looking at the initial file and seeing how it all kind of looked back in the day. Starting out with created teams, what did I have here? Only the Hartford Whalers and the Quebec Nordiques. Only 2 teams compared to the 70-something I have now. Definitely, I guess, created teams were not really a focus of mine. None of the YouTube series teams either, which I've loved put in this year. Looking at created players here. Again, Fantilli there, he was only 16. Continuing down the list, Kibuhari obviously just drafted this year in the 4th round. Had him at a medium elite, didn't age too well there. Kuzmenko. This was before EA added him in. This is a good year before I think he came over, I think. I have that timeline right. Going down here, Alex Zetterberg, obviously this year didn't get drafted, was an okay prospect. Berkeley Catton, before EA added him into the game. Cole Eiserman there, another draft pick this year, medium elite. Again, you could argue it's hard to say. Cutter Gauthier only at a medium top 6. I know he definitely wasn't supposed to go where he was drafted, but looks like not a bad pick in hindsight. Danielle Boot, Dvorsky before he was in the game. You have Devon Levi, high starter there. Richevsky, I was always really high on him for whatever reason, still am. If he ever comes over, I think he could be pretty good for the Jets. Daniela Yurov, high top 6, that's probably about right. Emil Vinny, that was before he ended up, I guess, going to one of the Finnish teams. Had him at a medium elite. Going down here, Demidov, obviously Montreal draft pick this year, playmaker, medium elite, 60 overall. In hindsight, that's not too bad. Fedotov before he ended up coming over. Ilya Kovalchuk there, that's an interesting one. Now, I guess I was when he was still playing, because I haven't added in, it's just a legend now for the New Jersey Devils, but yeah, I guess I was when he was still playing. Marosnichenko, good to see he wasn't at medium elite at that point. I know going into his draft here, he was thought of pretty highly. I believe this would have been the last year where we had to create Jake Sanderson in-game, him being 19 there. Johnny Tyconic there. Kent Johnson, yeah, I think that was the last year we had to create him as well. Leo Carlson, you have Logan Cooley there. Had him as a sniper, interestingly enough. Had him at the medium elite though, which is good. Lane Hudson, I know I definitely had him underrated potentially wise, but where he was drafted at the time, it did make sense. Obviously has become a much better player since. Matty Beniers there, still had to create him his rookie season. Who else do we have outside of that? You have Nyes, Toronto 66, medium top 6. Again, as an 18-year-old, it makes sense. Michkov there, medium franchise, 73 overall, so he still had 2 years to grow. And honestly, yeah, it's not bad. Franchise, I like having him at high elite personally, but you can't go wrong with franchise, I guess, with a player like him. You have Nail Yakupov, have to have him in every build. Even their Nikita Triamkin, I don't remember that at all. Owen Power in his rookie season. Kachekov, Rodion Amirov, RIP. Who else do we have down here? McGroarty, 72, had him as a sniper. It's a different choice. Shakir Makamadulin, that was obviously before the Timo Meier trade. Nemec hadn't been drafted yet. High top 4, obviously rose up the ranks pretty highly in his draft year. Victor Eklund, I always had him quite overrated when it came to potential. I think he's probably more of a medium top 6 based on kind of the research I've been doing for NHL 25, but had him at medium elite for too long there. You have Askarov. He's definitely, we had to make him for so long before EA finally added him. And it looks like that's it there for created players, for the most part. So I'm actually kind of curious, if we go to the final build I put out, was there a decent amount added and just continued to be built upon over the years? I'm guessing so. Again, this was a long time ago. I don't remember that. And let's see here. So let's start with created teams. And yeah, there's some more created teams, which is good. You have the Thrashers, alternate Blackhawks. I don't know why the logos aren't showing up. That's kind of weird. Utah Grizzlies. Yeah, I don't know why the logos aren't showing up. Some kind of glitch, but whatever. So good to see I added in a few more teams. Obviously nowhere near where we currently are at. Let's look at created players here. Do I see anyone? Harris Chuck there. Yeah, there's definitely some more players in this build. Jeffrey's there. Kiwiharu, you got assigned to a team. Yeah, definitely looks like there is some more guys that have been added, which obviously does make sense over the course of the year. Berkeley Catton got on the Chiefs. I guess he might have been drafted at that point. I'm not too sure. Same thing, Charlie Elick there added into the game. Obviously just drafted this past year. Drew Hellison. Yeah, there's actually a decent amount of guys here that I didn't have in that initial update, which was good to see. And obviously, I would kind of hope I would keep adding guys in here, but you never know. This was a long time ago when I wasn't probably putting as much time into this and all that stuff. So it's interesting that I did have all the NHL prospects actually assigned to their NHL teams. This is something that I learned definitely do not do for sure. It'll just end up cutting guys, and it messes with the 50-man roster and everything like that. But at the time, I didn't really know too much better. I think I found that out in NHL 23 at some point, had to reassign everyone. But let's just go back to the first update here. We'll take a look at the NHL ratings. Outside of that, I don't think I'm going to look at all the leagues, but we'll go through this here quickly, kind of see what the state was here back in 2022-23, whenever this was released. Yeah, Drysdale still at a medium elite, definitely a little bit high on him for sure. Mason McTavish just cracking the Ducks. Ian Moore, yeah, he was definitely too highly rated when it comes to potential at a medium top 4. Keller there before he really broke out and became a superstar. You have Galchenyuk there still on the Coyotes. Connor Timmins at a low elite is a choice. Definitely don't claim a lot of this stuff is amazing, and obviously it's going to age so totally different for different players and stuff out there, just based on performance. Some guys will underperform quite a bit, and some will just completely overperform. Even there, like Tage Thompson. Let's continue going through here. Obviously, the Flames, they're still at Goudreau and Kachuk. Lindholm there too. Lucic. Shillington there at a high top 4. Then he just didn't play for a couple of years, came back last year, was alright. You got the Hurricanes here. Martin Naish is still there. Who knows if he'll still be there long term in Carolina. Scott Morrow just signed. The Blackhawks still had Kane and Taves. I wonder, is this the point when I was really lowering Kane's defensive awareness? No, I wasn't. So that was definitely something, more of those individual stats, especially defense and everything. I guess that came in NHL 23. Again, this was my first ever build. Didn't really do too much in there when it came to really looking into individual stats and all that stuff. Makar at a 90. You know, off that 1 year, that's probably not too bad. Blue Jackets here. He had Adam Boquist still at a medium elite, obviously going to Florida now. Just definitely has been a weird development path for him. Hasn't really turned out as of yet. Dallas Stars, still at Klingberg, he was still, relatively decent. Robertson still at his medium elite. Obviously he's become quite a good player over the past, really 2 years for sure. Raymond, Sider on Detroit, both medium elite, that's good to see. Philip Zadina at a medium elite, that was definitely a miss. He unfortunately just didn't develop. The Oilers here, Barry, Duncan Keith still on the team at this point. Outside of that, nothing too crazy. The Panthers, Duclair, Forsling was pretty low rated at the time. Don't really know what he was doing at that time, though, stat-wise. LA Kings, Tkachev, I forgot that guy played on the Kings. I think he went to the KHL right after that season. The Minnesota Wild. Greenway, I thought of him pretty highly for a long time. More of a bottom six player today's NHL. You have Suzuki there. Drew Ren there at the 81. Cole Caulfield at 79. What was he doing? Yeah, that was the year when he was going up and down between Laval and Montreal, so that's totally fair. Potential is good on him still. Eli Tolvanen there at a medium elite. That's definitely a miss. He did turn out to be a pretty good player on Seattle. More of a medium top six, though. You can maybe say high top six at most. Tomasino, it's another miss. I'd definitely probably go medium top six at best. Cody Glass, low elite. That's a little much, too. Some guys there on Nashville definitely didn't turn out. Ooh, that's a big one there. Ty Smith with the medium elite. He looked so good during his rookie year. He's an all-star. He looked like he had all the future ahead of him, and he just, for whatever reason, he just fell off, and he hasn't been able to get back to that form. So that's definitely a miss for sure. Looking at the Islanders there, nothing too crazy stands out. That's when Chara went back, finished off his career there. You have Kakko, Lafreniere. Kakko at that point already started getting lowered to a high top six. Brady Tkachuk, 84, medium elite. Stützle, 82. Just coming out of their year, getting drafted at 19 years old. Colin White, high top six. Another guy that just definitely kind of fell off the last couple of years. He had some good years in Ottawa, but was not able to keep that up. Getting through all these forwards here on Pittsburgh now. Crosby, still obviously just a beast. Outside of that, nothing too crazy standing out. The Sharks obviously still had Erik Karlsson back in the day. Outside of that, not seeing anything too crazy. Will Eklund, medium elite, that's probably alright. Vince Dunn, only medium top 4. Definitely really emerged as a player there in Seattle. Tarasenko, 86. That was really when he started more or less kind of falling off just to being a middle top 6 player or whatever. My Bolts, Kucherov, 93. Stammer, 90, Point, 90. Sergachev, that was, I guess, when he was kind of starting to break out to be a pretty solid defenseman, 83 there, medium elite. The Leafs, you have Matthews at a 93, Marner, 90. Nylander, surprisingly, only 87. Don't exactly know at this point in his career what he was putting up, so not sure if that made sense. Sandin there. Nick Ritchie still on the team at this point. He had those AHL guys. Pedersen on the Canucks. You have Quinn Hughes, Miller. Yeah, those guys look pretty good, at least at this point, or at that point in their careers. That all kind of makes sense. You have Myers, who at that point was still their big cap whale. Obviously now, only making $3 million is definitely more reasonable. Looking at the Golden Knights, so Eichel was traded at this point. I guess that was 21 or 22, I actually don't remember. Then 2 more teams here coming up. Oh, you have Nolan Patrick there. Again, it's very unfortunate how his career ended, just injuries and all that stuff just caught up with him. Didn't really get a chance. You have Ovi there at 93. Might be a little high on Ovi. At that point, he was still doing alright. Obviously, this last year, he's definitely fallen off a little bit more than that. And the Jets, the last team here. You have Ehlers. Yeah, everything looking alright. You have obviously Dubois, but on the Jets, he did pretty good. He had a couple of good years there. 60 points in his last year, I believe. At this point, Vesalainen no longer had his medium elite. For whatever reason, EA just loved to give him medium elite, but go through the goalies here quick. Gibson started getting lowered at this point. Arizona has like nobody. Linus Ullmark, 85. At this point, he just left Buffalo, where he was putting up some good numbers. It is limited sample size, but Buffalo, nothing too crazy. Eric Portillo was still there. You have Jacob Markstrom still in Calgary at that point. Kochetkov, that was, I believe, right when he just came over, just signed his ELC. You have Fleury before he was traded to Minnesota. Clemenceau up there on the NHL team. Kemper before he went to Washington and really fell off. Merzlikins when he was still pretty solid. Ben Bishop. Don't even have Andra at the team for the Stars at this point. I guess he was still in the AHL, I'm guessing, at that point. And I guess, yeah, at this point, I don't really think I cared about potentials at all, as you see, like, Mike Smith there with medium elite. Spencer Knight there at high elite. Oof, that's definitely a miss for sure. But later on into franchise mode and goalies, It is good to have those good young goalies that are real to continue into franchise mode, but that's definitely a little bit high. Especially Kakin in there too. He is 25 though, so not going to get too much better. Carey Price still in the game at this point. On to Nashville. Yeah, I don't think I really did care about potentials at this point. It was obviously older players didn't really matter as much. Just more for the younger players. You still have Sorokin there, obviously on his upward spiral. Same with Shesterkin. Both guys would just continue to get better and better. Senators, nothing too crazy. Martin Jones, you have Fedotov on the Flyers. Penguins, nothing too crazy. This one, Reimer is a Shark. Barely remember that. Grubauer, right after signing that huge deal in Seattle. He was a Vezina nominee that year. Obviously has fallen off quite a bit, just numbers-wise. They haven't been great in Seattle. You have Binnington there. There's Prime Vazzy, 93. Let's see, what was he putting up at this point? Yeah, this was just when he was really in his prime of everything, just putting up great numbers there for Tampa. Jack Campbell at an 86. That seems a little high. It's not bad stats, limited sample size though. Demko at an 85. That seems a little low. Getting a 35, but pretty decent numbers. Again, I don't really know where all these guys were at back a couple of years exactly. But there's Samsonov there still in the Capitals before he ended up going to Toronto. And then lastly, Connor Hellebuck on the Jets, 92 overall. And he still was that elite Vezina winning goalie at that time, so that definitely does make some sense. Other leagues, I don't really want to get into anything else too much. Honestly, maybe just take a look at Connor Bedard. Again, I don't really know where he was at. I'm guessing high franchise still. Let's see. Regina Pats, high franchise, 76. He had 2 years left to grow. No zone ability, which is interesting, because they couldn't grow. Players couldn't grow zone abilities at that time. Did have a decent amount of X factors though. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to go through the other leagues in this video. Who knows, if you guys really want to see it, I can do a follow-up video and we can take a look at everything in this initial build. But I think for the most part that is going to do it for today's video. It's actually a lot better than I thought, I'm going to be honest. I remember just some interesting choices I made for sure, and honestly it's just about learning wherever you are doing rosters or just whatever in general. Just trying to do better each and every year and trying to continue to learn and improve upon the process and all that kind of thing. So yeah, just a kind of a fun video here today looking at my first ever roster that I put out in an NHL game. But yeah, that'll do it for today's video. I'll see you all in the next one.